Hey guys, this is John. I'm playing fbkc1 in a 5+5 game on chess.com. Let's play d4 in this game. My opponent's rated 1829. I'll play mainline c4. Okay, and I'm going to try to avoid the Nimzo Indian. All right, and let's play knight c3 here. I often play bishop g5 as well. Let's see if black wants to play semi-Slav, Queen's Gambit declined, Rogozin with bishop b4. Lots of options here for black. Okay, bishop to e7, solid. Mainline Queen's Gambit declined. So bishop g5 and bishop f4 are both possible here. I'll go with bishop f4 just to mix it up a little bit. I usually put the bishop on g5, as I was saying on the previous move, but trying to expand my opening horizons a bit. Oh, and fbkc1 says, thanks for accepting a challenge from a low-rated player. No problem, sir. Good luck to you. Okay, so b6. So I have a preference for simplifying and trying to trade on d5 pretty early in these structures. So I'm going to do that. Now, black may want to take with the knight. But yeah, pawn takes also definitely possible. Let's play bishop d3. Okay, bishop e6. So black foregoes putting the bishop on b7 and instead puts it on e6. So I often feel like h3 is a pretty valuable move here. I like to throw that in whenever possible, just to discourage knight h5 going after the dark square bishop. Okay, an h6 from black. Not sure about that one. Thinking about knight e5, maybe I can use the c6 square to my advantage, which is a little bit tender because black has already played b6. So I could post the knight. I could try to launch an attack, g4, g5, and maybe even castle queenside. That would be an interesting way to play this. g4. Yeah, you know, normally I wouldn't go g4, but given that black has played h6, I can create 2 points of contact here. I have a hook to attack with on the g5 square, so I'm kind of curious how black's going to react to this. And objectively, it may be a good move. It looks pretty annoying for black, because if g5 is played, pawn takes, knight takes, I don't have any direct winning threats, but that knight is hanging over black's head. I'm going to be putting pressure on e6. Maybe I can get something going towards h7. Okay, and a6 seems very slow, so I don't like what fbkc1 here is doing. I mean, don't need to control the b5 square any more than you already are, so let's go ahead and play this. Black plays knight h5. I was just going to take on h6. Okay, so black does take. Probably take with the knight, as I was describing. And now if I can post something on the g file, maybe bring my rook to g1, bear down on that enemy king, we're doing great. I think bishop c2, queen d3 is another idea if I want to castle queenside and create a queen-bishop battery right towards h7. So I would say black has played one too many pawn moves here, and I really like the attacking potential I have in this position. It's not over by any means, but black has to be very careful now, I feel. You know, a move like g6 is going to run into problems. I can play knight takes e6, f takes e6, bishop takes g6. Or even reverse that move order and play bishop takes g6 first. Okay, so knight d7, so black develops. Yeah, h7 is kind of the target square, but it's going to be hard to evict this knight, especially with this other knight backing it up. Don't think I want to play knight takes e6. I'm holding this bishop hostage, so there's no reason to play a quick capture there. I'd say rook g1 and queen f3 are the two main moves I'm considering right now. I think I like the look of rook g1. I'm going to play that. So now if this knight moves, so if I say capture on e6, rook takes g7 is always in the air. Or maybe take, bishop h6. Just another move to include a piece in the attack, a further piece. And, you know, in climbing the rating ladder, I try to give general advice in a forecast of what you can expect at these rating levels, according to what I see. But 1800s, I mean, players at this level don't have too many discernible weaknesses, I would say, that I can just easily generalize about. Oftentimes, they may need to make improvements in their understanding of openings in the associated early middle games. I would say, you know, this player, again, with the pawn moves, probably playing one too many pawn moves, few too many pawn moves. c5 makes sense. I mean, got to get some counterplay here. So again, I'm looking at this line, take, bishop h6. It looks fairly forcing. I think black has to go rook f7 there and then bishop g6. I'm just not sure about pawn takes on h6 at that point. So maybe I don't have to rush anything. Maybe queen f3, just get further coordinated. But taking another gander at that line just to see if I can do any damage with it. Now, I like queen f3. So, yeah, now if take and take, maybe rook takes g7 is even working next, with the idea of putting the queen on g3 after that. And if the king tries to run to f7, my queen's going to land on g6 with checkmate. Ooh, okay. Do I have a chance here to create a nice piece of art? Knight takes e6, f takes e6, rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen g3 check. And I'm getting awfully close to that king, although with the knight controlling the h7 square, I don't know that I have a checkmate. It's lurking, though. Okay, I'm not going to burn too much time here. I could calculate that line further, but I didn't see how it was going to pan out to checkmate, so I'm just going to play a simple move. Maybe get ready to castle. I'll probably have that opportunity again, but it's nice to know that my knight isn't constantly attacked on c3. I don't think I have to go all in here yet. But yeah, that was looking like a tempting attacking line. Just wasn't sure if I could land the fatal blow. Maybe the key thing is to castle at the end of the line, so maybe that was working. Also would have had to calculate if black could throw the knight in the way on g4. Don't know that that's working for black. But yeah, I feel like if I castle in particular, then my queenside rook being able to come over to g1, then things are really going to shape up for me. That said, though, because I captured here and I didn't prosecute the attack for one move, black may have a chance to defend. Yeah, rook e8. I think that's a smart move, because if I take now, black may not take back. Black may play bishop f8, let's say. So I'm just going to castle now. I don't like that rook lined up with my king on e1. Okay, but now if I take, yeah, I feel like this has to be winning at this point. And rook takes g7. Yeah, let's go for this. It's time. Okay, rook takes g7, king takes g7, queen g3 check. If king f8, I have bishop h6. And if the king ever goes to f7, I have queen g6. So that only leads throwing the knight in the way. I'm going to get a tremendous attack there. I mean, black can throw various pieces in the way. It's not going to work, though. So I think we're going to have this situation where black's going to go to the h-file, and I can check and then bring the rook over to g1 with check. And I think that should crush. So bombs away. Let's do it. Yeah, now let's check here. With two bishops like that, in concert with the queen, and this rook also being able to join the attack, black having virtually no defenders, it's too much. So queen g6 or queen g7 on the next move. Okay. So checkmate. All right. So thank you to fbkc1 for the game. So yeah, too many pawn moves here from black. This is all fine, but I really dislike h6. h6 and a6, those rook pawn moves, they controlled squares, especially a6, that I wasn't really even thinking about using in the near future. I think a6, right after I play g4, is black letting their guard down, because with g4, clearly I'm going to try to play g5 and attack, 2 points of contact, so I think black already has to start making plans to address that. And if you notice that your opponent has a convenient hook point where you can attack two things and therefore force lines open. That's the idea of, sorry about this knight b5 move. Let me go back here. That's the idea of a move like g4 followed by g5, is that I'm not giving black a chance to close down the position. Because I'm attacking two things, it's either you take me and files, diagonals are going to open up, or if you move the knight, the higher value piece, I'm going to take you on h6. And again, files and diagonals are going to open up. If this pawn were back on h7, black could move the knight, let's say knight h5 or knight d7, and it's going to be a lot harder for me to open lines towards their king. So yeah, too many pawn moves there. One thing I will check with the engine is whether I could have played knight takes e6 here. I think I probably could have, but I feel better about this when my rook on a1 can get into the attacking party. That's a great principle of attack. Invite everyone to the party, get everyone involved if you can. So I think my position was quite good here, and I didn't feel like there was a huge rush. But it's possible e takes d4 is not the best move. But yeah, under the time circumstances, not quite seeing a clear win. I think the thing I was missing was the rook coming over to g1 eventually. I think taking and then castling is reasonable. Maybe even castling here with the same idea and saying, go ahead, take on c3, then I'll take and take g7. That could be good. So yeah, and rook c8, probably black's last chance here is to get something going towards the defense of their king. So maybe bishop f8 is what black should do at this point. So that after takes, black can take with the rook even. The bishop is helping to guard g7. Still looks like a bad position for black. I can take d5 and win a pawn if I want, among other moves, but not over yet. Maybe black could take with a pawn, although that weakens some of the light squares around their king quite a bit, especially that g6 square. But even just having the bishop on f8 helping to control, defend g7, a lot better than what happened in the game. So let's take a quick peek at this. Yeah, so this has all been played before. If we turn on the opening explorer, you can see all the different moves played here. And I think of the Queen's Gambit overall as, we had a Queen's Gambit by transposition. Black ended up playing d5 later. Overall, white is looking to trade a wing pawn for a center pawn with c takes d5 and derive some sort of small advantage there. So yeah, you can try to delay this exchange or in some cases even avoid it entirely, but I think c takes d5 in QGD positions makes a lot of sense. And yeah, black might want to take with the knight here just to try to look for a trade. Knight takes d5 and then pawn takes d5, free up their position a little bit more. White has to be aware of bishop b4 check as a possibility in some cases. So knight takes may be the slightly better move. Yeah, you can see based on the percentages, white scores worse with knight takes when black does recapture with the knight compared to pawn takes. So pawn takes, bishop d3. Yep, we're still following. Lots of games here, and bishop e6. I know in some lines black does play bishop e6 when they have the option of bishop e7, but may not be wise to do it here in view of knight g5 possible on every move. So maybe that's why black played h6. When I played h3, maybe they wanted to disallow knight g5 going and attacking their bishop. And overall, I'm not a big fan of bishops wedged in between pawns like that, where they're just pretty much purely supporting those pawns. I mean, sometimes you have no choice to put a bishop like that, or the pawn's under attack and it's just the best way to try to defend it. But I think on b7, maybe with c5, the bishop has better prospects. So I'm not surprised that that's the main move. And overall, black should be looking to advance this queenside majority. Got to get that going. I don't think black needed that a6 preparatory move. Okay, so let me go back to the game. We'll turn the Explorer off, turn the lines on. Yeah, so bishop d3, nice spot for the light square bishop because it controls f5. Black could actually try knight h5 here. I was mentioning that's why I was going for h3, although it looks a bit premature. Bishop e5 is what the engine wants me to do. Even bishop g3, black may be hesitant to play knight takes g3 because I get this convenient pressure down the h-file. Yeah, I may end up castling long here, playing for an attack. With bishop e6, I played h3. Yep, h6. And I know there were many of you out there who are happy to see me attacking in this position. Often I play in strategic style, and I was thinking about just castling and playing rook c1, knight e5, queen e2, moves like that, playing it kind of slow, shifting to play over to the center and queen side, but g4 just kind of felt right as a reaction to h6. It's not the computer's favorite move, but yeah, from a human standpoint, I really like the idea of this move. Yeah, and probably black should play c5 right away. I think black does have to seek counterplay. I mean, you could maybe make an argument for moving this knight to try to preempt g5, but that looks sketchy. Moving the knight to d7, or especially to h7, just doesn't seem like a move you'd like to play here as black. So g4, yeah, a6, and that's giving me the green light to play g5, and the eval's already extremely positive for white, plus 1.5 roughly. So 2 points of contact. If you see your opponent has weakened the side of the board where they're castled like that, then look for a pawn break, where you can attack 2 things and leverage open lines. So it takes, and knight h5 also possible. I was thinking about just taking on h6 if that happens. You know, I might even be willing to play a position like this, because despite my ugly structure, black's king is wide open. You know, if I can play like check, knight e5, or maybe knight e5 right away, queen h5, computer already thinks that this is winning for white. And note, I have not committed my king, so again, retaining that option of whisking my king away to the queen side. Yeah, so knight takes, knight bd7, and now I'm just building my attack, rook g1, holding that bishop hostage. It has nowhere safe to go, so I don't have to take it yet. c5, yep, queen f3. Yeah, I think this is a good move, because queen f3 gives me access to that g3 square if I want to shift the queen over there, especially in those lines, as happened in the game, where I sack on g7, put the queen right over. So I like that move a lot. Computer thinks it's good. Interestingly, the computer likes a3 here, which is a move I would never play. I mean, to me, a3 seems a lot like black playing a6 here. The action is mostly against their king. The king side, a little bit in the center, so playing a3 feels very odd to me here. So queen f3 takes. Okay, so now this was the moment of truth. Yeah, and it looks like I can go ahead and do this. It's not a huge difference in the evaluation, but if I had more time, like in a tournament game, for sure I would calculate if I have a forced win here. And just to show why this is so strong at this moment. So take. I was also trying to calculate some lines that black declines to take the rook. It's kind of weird looking, but black could claim that my knight is still under attack and they may take that rook in the future, but yeah, this is just a dominant position. I can even just calmly recapture, because if the rook is truly immune, then that's still going to hold true on the next move. But yeah, just to show this line, check and then check again. Yeah, king g7 or king g8. Let's say king g8. And it even wants me to get a little bit closer here. Checks. Note that black can never successfully block on h7 because I take and have my bishop joining in. So black has to move their king back and forth between the G and the H files. And again, black can't go here because of queen g6 mate. So it just didn't seem like I had that ingredient. But yeah, castles at some point is going to be the missing piece here and get the rook over to g1. So strictly speaking, that was the strongest way to play. Computer already finds a forced mate in this position. But I don't think it's too bad how I played it, especially in a blitz game. Just if that line isn't clear, don't risk it all yet. You don't have to. Have a good position. Okay, so now black played rook e8. And yeah, I think that is a good move, because now if I take, there's this bishop f8 move, allowing for rook takes e6. So I think that's a good defense for black. So I castled now. Yeah, and bishop f8 should be played. Bishop b4 is the next best move. But I really think bishop f8, nice and sturdy here. Might consider knight f8 as well. Knight on f8, there is no mate, as the saying goes. But that doesn't do much to address the g7 square in my mind. Computer likes bishop e5 here. Yeah, there's quite a bit of pressure here. I mean, I could even choose some slower plan, like doubling the rooks. King b1, doubling the rooks. King b1 being helpful, because if ever black puts a rook on the c file, I'm not going to be pinned. You know, b5, b4 isn't going to hurt me. Okay, but black played rook c8. And now I took g7. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. With my rook coming over. If king h8, can do a bunch of different things here. I guess rook g1 is probably what I would play. That threatens some flashy stuff like queen h5. So let's just say hypothetically black plays a passing move. I can go queen h5 check, deflect the knight, and then rook h7. Again, note this major piece supported by the bishop. So black's king is just too open here. So yeah, we had a nice conclusion to this. Check. He played king f8 and got mated, but yep, if this happens, check. King comes over. Rook g1 is going to decide real quick here. Oh, and I should also point out, black could throw the knight in the way in some of these lines, including the line where I was demonstrating this before castling with the rook on a1. But I too think that should be great for white. White's not even down really any material here, just 1 point. Again, totally open, rook coming over, both bishops and the queen attacking. Game over. So, as played, checkmate. Okay, so fun game. Yeah, gotta watch those pawn moves. You know, watch those unnecessary pawn pushes around your king. You know, it's not that h6 is going to be bad in all circumstances. You know, oftentimes that can be a helpful move if you're creating luft for your king. But here, it's not really luffed because my bishop is controlling h7, and that just gave me the green light to go for g4, g5. And I really think black has to play with a bit more urgency right here because the attack is on, and a few more building moves, and black's already in dire straits. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this game, and I'll be back again soon with another video. Bye, guys.